All right, so plenty has already been said on the assassination of Charlie Kirk that happened last week, last Wednesday. We're almost coming up to a full week since it happened, and there are various conspiracies and theories about why he was killed, who really killed him, etc., etc. But one thing that we are certain of is that the alleged shooter is currently in custody. He is not cooperating with the federal agents at the moment, since he supposedly handed himself in after being convinced by his own father. There are, I will admit, quite a few discrepancies with some of the story that we have been heard that we'll go over in a moment. I'm not going to try to get too much into conspiracy thinking because I do think Occam's razor suggests the simplest solution is the most likely correct one, which would be that some guy who was going out with some trans person who was a leftist, inculcated in trans ideology, probably groomed into it through his time on Discord servers and in other online spaces, decided that for the sake of trans rights that he was going to take out one of the biggest and most vocal opponents of trans and LGBT issues in the US. But that's not to say that there aren't plenty of discrepancies with the stories and plenty of things to be concerned about. But one of the other things is, I mentioned this on Twitter the other day, to a certain extent, the shooter and his ideology doesn't matter with regards to the left anymore. Because as soon as it happened, we saw that they claimed it. They not only claimed it, they celebrated it, and they mocked Charlie Kirk, they mocked his family. I saw threats against his wife, saying that she needed to have her children taken away, presumably so that the children, rather than being raised in a household with, biological parents who loved them, could instead be raised by radical ideologue lunatics into being trans themselves, or something like that. So no matter the ideology the shooter had, no matter the reasons he had for shooting, no matter what conspiracy theories may be abounding regarding the shooting, and I'm not saying that none of them have merit either, the left claimed this. This is theirs. We have the footage. People have already been tracked down. People have already been fired from their jobs over the disgusting, vile, sickening ways in which people celebrated the death of an innocent father, an innocent husband and father, which is why it's very frustrating when you see actual articles trying to claim that this was some kind of right-wing or Nick Fuentes Groyper style incident, like this one from the Telegraph, where they state here that he had apparent links to the Groyper army, and that he had a digital footprint that suggested that he understood and spoke the language used by the alt-right at some stage. Whether he espoused the references intentionally remains unclear. They're obviously trying to insinuate, they're trying to imply here, and this is from the Telegraph as well, that he had some kind of contact or sympathy to the right or the far right or the Groypers in general, this image being one of the ones that they're using to substantiate that claim, given that he is doing a squat in a tracksuit, which they compare to a Pepe meme. And as much as Pepe is used by people on the right, I think this writer fundamentally misunderstands in making this comparison that Pepe is just like a general internet thing. Right? Everybody of a certain age, mostly Zoomers, even some younger millennials, uses Pepe because Pepe is funny. And all of the other far-right language that this kid was using was really just internet talk for Zoomers, as far as I can tell. That's not really coded one way or the other. So it's a very strange thing to try and imply and insinuate that this kid, whether there's more steps to it or not, was not himself a radical leftist when, as explored a bit, and we'll go over it a little bit more in this segment, it was explored on Monday, I'll expand on it, was not obviously a radical left-wing ideologue. That much is obvious. It is undeniable, and yet some still try. This clip came out of Jimmy Kimmel saying, we hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points for it. I'm sorry, he was not a right-winger. He may have come from a right-wing family, but just assuming that if you come from a right-wing family, you must be right-wing. Have we not seen countless examples over the past 10, 20 years of people who came from conservative families who hate them, who despise their family's social views? This is a desperate and flailing attempt to try and distance themselves from something that they already claimed. You can't walk it back. You can't walk back.
They just won't stop gaslighting.
Exactly. You can't, but it's such a pathetic attempt. You can't walk back that the second Charlie Kirk's death was announced, before it was even announced, when we all saw the footage of him dying, before it was clear whether he had survived the shot or not, every single one of you were on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're all over Twitter, celebrating, cheering, saying, who's next? Who's next? So you don't get to walk that back. You don't get to take that back. You will be held accountable. Those of you who have lost your jobs already, I am glad to see it. It is people like you that make tragedies like this more and more likely. Things have been escalating to this point. Political assassinations are not the sign of a healthy society. They are the exact opposite. If political divisions in your country are so bad that the guy who goes to universities and tries to have an open dialogue with people who disagree with him, where they can try and find some common ground, is killed for that, you do not have a society anymore. You do not have a culture that you can all agree upon. You do not have a shared common ground that unites all of us. You people celebrating that need to be separated from society. You need to be fired from your jobs. You need to realize there are repercussions, there are consequences, there are costs to your actions, which we will get into in Stelios' segment. But I tell you what doesn't cost too much, and that is Islander. I have been asked to throw this in. I know it's a very serious subject, but knowledge is serious, or some other catchy PR term. Just buy it. Just buy it. If you've not already, it's $14.99. The first issue was $14.99. This issue is still $14.99. So if anything, given by how terrible inflation has been over the past year or so, we're ripping ourselves off by charging so little for it. So get yourself a deal while you still can, or you'll be doom scrolling through eBay pages looking at this issue, like the rest of them, going for $300 and kicking yourself in the arse, all right? So buy it already. Anyway, so countering the prevailing gaslighting narrative that people like Jimmy Kimmel are so disgustingly trying to put forward, we have, well, the actual facts, a lot of which have already been gone over, but there is more stuff that has come out since then, and more stuff that does cast some questions on what is going on, what was going on with this, how he planned it, what was being planned. There are text messages, which I'll show in a few minutes, when he says specifically that he'd been planning this assassination for maybe a week and a half, and yet at the same time we have evidence that a number of people who were part of the online trans community were pointing to this specific date of the 10th of September and saying that if Charlie Kirk goes to Utah, there will be consequences. So that casts some questions over the text messages. Either way, we have some updates here. So he has had his first court appearance via Zoom link yesterday. That was Tuesday, the 16th of September, 2025. He's been charged with aggravated murder, and prosecutors are saying that they will seek the death penalty. He was taken into custody in his native Utah following the 33-hour manhunt involving local law enforcement and the FBI. And let's just stop for a moment and highlight here. Kash Patel's FBI, completely useless. Completely useless in this whole manhunt. It took them waiting for him to hand himself in.
But also, you'd expect them to take care of roofs.
Well, that was a private security problem with the event itself. And sadly, sometimes, clearly, as we've seen in this case, the security just isn't very good. You can see footage of, and you can go across 3D images and images of the event and the layout of the campus, and it does seem like it was just an easy place to get up to that people weren't paying attention to. Stupid, shoddy work, especially after Trump's attempted assassination last year, but I suppose they didn't think that Charlie Kirk would be as high profile a target to go after as he clearly ended up being. But yeah, the FBI in the manhunt, especially given that they all knew Charlie, he was a friend of the administration, taking 33 hours to find nothing and then waiting for him to hand himself in after he was convinced by his trans boyfriend, girlfriend thing and his father to hand himself in. Not good. Not good work at all. DEI, FBI. Robinson's being held without bail in a special housing unit at the Utah County Jail. In addition to aggravated murder, he's facing multiple other charges, including felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, and committing violent crime in the presence of children. Utah Governor Spencer Cox said a family member told investigators that Robinson had become more political in recent years. He said that during a dinner conversation before the attack, Robinson had discussed Kirk's upcoming Utah event at the Utah Valley University. Also, just for full transparency, no relation. No relation. Different Robinsons, I hope. Either that or common ancestor 600-700 years ago. Different Robinson. No relation to me, promise. Carrying on, Cox said they talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints he had. Robinson's mother said her son had started to lean more to the left. Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray told a news conference on Tuesday, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights orientated. Obviously, because he had begun dating his roommate, who was transgender and transitioning from male to female, according to authorities. Gray said Robinson left a note under his keyboard for his roommate, which allegedly said, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." And this is all information that we've got from the trans girlfriend-boyfriend, right? Where apparently she have been very cooperative with the police. Robinson himself has chosen to not cooperate with the police after already handing himself in. Very strange. Perhaps it was that he wasn't really thinking the death penalty would be on the table. Now it's been put on the table. Maybe he's changed his mind and he's thinking, I'll hold out until I speak to a public defender who has not been assigned to him yet, so I can figure out a legal strategy where maybe I can do a plea deal. If the official narrative is true, right, with all of the other information that we have, he was not the only man in this. He was not the only person as part of this plan. There were co-conspirators, as far as I can tell from the information that has been given. So the smart move, if you wanted to avoid a death penalty, I am not a legal professional, I do not know if this would work, would be to potentially wait until you can come up with a plea deal with your public defender where you dob everybody else in that conspiracy in to maybe have your charge taken down from a death penalty to maybe life imprisonment instead. Maybe he's waiting for that. Maybe there's something more suspicious going on. But the family and the partner, apparently very cooperative, which is where we're getting this information from. In the hours before Robinson handed himself in, Gray said Robinson's mother saw footage of the suspected killer on the news and thought it looked like her son, which led his father to confront him. Utah County Attorney Gray said police recovered the suspected weapon, a rifle, near the scene of the shooting, and DNA consistent with Robinson's was found on the rifle's trigger, adding that the firearm was unique and had once belonged to Robinson's grandfather. Earlier, FBI Director Kash Patel said DNA discovered on a towel wrapped around the rifle also matched the subject. So we have multiple pieces of evidence, material evidence taken from the scene, which have DNA that points towards Tyler Robinson being the shooter.
And yet, despite all of this and all of the testimonies from his own family, his own boyfriend, you still see this falsehood being trotted out that it was some, far-right groiper and that Charlie's death was politically...
They do this because they do this because they are focusing on narrative control, and they have completely lost it. People have understood what happened, but they're playing a numbers game, so they want to give out quantity of message, hoping that 1 month from now, the sheer quantity of messaging according to which the killer was right-wing will stick to some people's minds.
I have already seen that some people have stuck with it, because for many people, sadly, this story, like so many others with Irina Zarutska, with even Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony, even something much more minor than this, but still horrifying, that being the brutal beating of the wrestler Psycho Sid at the hands of Raja Jackson, which was caught on camera, live on Kick, on a live stream. These things cycle in and out. So they get bombarded with information to begin with. A lot of it is very overwhelming. A lot of it is contradictory. So they choose one narrative to stick with. And for many people on the left, maybe even those who celebrated it, who then see that there are consequences this time and want to absolve themselves so they don't face those consequences, they will have seen some suggestion, like the Telegraph article, maybe they only read the headline, that says, probable right-winger, comes from conservative family, Mormon family, registered unaffiliated to political parties, and they'll say Groyper, they'll say right-winger, and they will stick with that because they won't follow up on the information, because
It's a battle for the headline.
Something new will have popped up in the news cycle that they've instead had their attention grabbed by like a pigeon.
They want to both gloat and gleefully cheer at the outcome, without actually receiving any repercussions or, accountability for what they advocate for.
No, they hate consequences. There is more evidence pointing to him as well, which is that when they went to Tyler Robinson's home, they found targets with bullet holes in it. Police found several targets with bullet holes, according to Utah County attorneys Jeff Gray and the charging documents. Obviously, that is circumstantial. That is circumstantial, but as part of the larger picture, especially with the DNA evidence that they have found as well, it does begin to paint a picture. Robinson allegedly told his roommate, his boyfriend, girlfriend thing, that he had been planning to kill Kirk for about a week, according to text messages included in the charging documents. Investigators also say they found a shell with an engraved message on it at the same residence, because one of the interesting things about this is, like the recent, I think it was Minneapolis school shooting, that freak Robin Westman who shot up the children at the Catholic school, there was engravings on the bullet casings that were left at the scene of the crime at the Utah Valley University here. This is becoming a more common thing. It seems that people who are committing these crimes are leaving messages for the police when they find the evidence.
Also, people who do this, they want a sort of symbolism for their action. That's why they're leaving engravings.
They also think it's a kind of a meme.
Yeah.
Like it's a joke. Like a lot of the messages that were engraved on this guy's bullets supposedly were references to niche internet jokes. Right. I think one of them said something like, "If you read this, you're gay, lol."
Yeah.
Like, you've just taken a man's life. Like maybe I'm not trying to ask for a better quality of killer, but maybe I am. Maybe I am. If you're going to take somebody's life, especially a young father and husband, perhaps have a little bit more, I don't know, solemnity about it. Is that the right word? But anyway, there's more stuff, which is, according to Discord, who initially stated that they did not have any evidence that the killing was planned on Discord or promoted violence on Discord, have since come out and provided evidence of messages that were sent through the platform where he confessed to it on a Discord server, where he said, "It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this." This reads from an account that allegedly belongs to Robinson, according to the spokesperson and law enforcement source. And I believe Discord have voluntarily come out with this. Law enforcement sources have told CBS News that Robinson and his friends bantered about the shooting before his arrest in a group chat on Discord involving more than 20 people. The Discord messages, which are said to be from Robinson, were first reported by the Washington Post and are thought to have been written and posted towards the end of a manhunt for the killer. The spokesperson said there was no evidence that it was planned or promoted on Discord. From what I know, we only have access to the Discord messages which were sent to this server, though. So we don't know if then anything was said in DMs. Certainly nothing has been brought up in the reporting that I have seen on it. The attorney, Jay Cox, has said previously that he was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. All evidence seems to point in that direction. Public records reviewed by the BBC suggest that he had in the past registered as an unaffiliated or non-partisan, so this is where the BBC try and run a little bit of cover and say like, oh, but he wasn't affiliated with any particular party. Well, radical leftists don't associate themselves with the Democrat Party anyway. They think the Democrats are some kind of radical right-wing party. Sure. However, according to Cox, the family member told the investigators that he had become more political. Same sort of news that we saw from that. Let's look at the text messages then. So this is one of the most controversial pieces that have come out thus far regarding all of this, because people are questioning how likely it is that somebody would message like this. They're looking at the way that it's written and saying, this doesn't come across like how a young person would message to me, because not only does it come across stilted and awkward, it also is just really condemning in the kind of evidence that he's putting against himself in these text messages themselves. Now, there are a number of reasons for this which people are floating. Let me read it through it first. So after finding the note, supposedly, I think the name is Lance Twiggs, is the name of the boyfriend-girlfriend transitioning person thing. He got a text message from them saying, "What? You're joking, right?" To which Robinson replied, "I am still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Response, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, "I am. I'm sorry." Response, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." And it goes on like that. He really dobs himself in with all of this, essentially. Now, there are three explanations people have floated for why this is so stilted and awkward and almost scripted in the way that some say. Which is, one, he is just an autistic young kid who doesn't have much social interaction with people outside of Discord servers. He doesn't seem to have much of a social media footprint at all outside of Discord. As far as I can tell, we've not found a Twitter account, Instagram, TikTok, anything like that. It's mainly his Steam account and Discord. So perhaps it is just that he talks like a LARPer when he's on there. He thinks he's part of some big romantic plot where he's gone out and he's done this for his...
Main character syndrome.
Yep. And he feels like talking in grandiose statements like, "I am still okay, my love, but I am stuck for a little while longer yet." The other two are, one, that perhaps the roommate was involved, and all of this is written in such a way so that he only incriminates himself. So that the feds will have evidence that looks like the roommate knew nothing about it.
Sure.
And the third one is that this whole thing has been fabricated and has been written by somebody who does not know how young people speak over message. So I'm not going to put my own opinion forward there.
And all three of them are plausible. Right, all three of those.
If this is part of some larger conspiracy, that would explain why people have put forward option 3.
What is weird is in the very beginning where it says, to be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. Just why are you just straightforwardly...
But why did you leave the note?
Yeah.
Why? That's another contradiction here, which is, if you wanted to keep it a secret, why did you leave a note which causes your roommate boyfriend to immediately message you saying, what have you done? And then you immediately confess to it before you've even been caught.
Maybe it was after he was presumably found.
There are... Well, no. This is on the day of the shooting, before
the shooting,
before he was found. And you can see here, he's basically saying here that he's been hanging around the area for ages, waiting while the police are sweeping the area where he dropped his gun. So also we have this where he's saying that a guy who looks like the security footage that they'd already have access to, I would assume that they would look at that almost immediately to see what they can find.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Is just hanging around where you find this gun, and what, he's so discreet that you don't pick him up? Very strange. Very, very strange. Either incompetence or there's something else going on here. Again, despite this, he also said in it, he's asked, why did you do it? Presumably, though, like, surely you would have known.
Right. You'd have known your boyfriend's politics.
He said, I had enough of his hatred. So there's the motivation right there. Some hate can't be negotiated out. And then he says that, how long have you been planning this? A bit over a week, I believe. But there is some strange occurrences which seem to suggest that it might have been a little bit longer than that. So again, we have all of this stuff to respond to people who, as of yesterday, are still saying that this guy was MAGA, even though, according to the official narrative, everything that we have suggests that he was the exact opposite. But this is where we get to some of the more other weird stuff, which is one, if he was planning it for just over a week, why is it that even on the 6th of August, for instance, we have tweets from people seemingly suggesting that something strange was going to go down on the 10th of September when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And the same person saying, I plead the 5th. And then you have other people with accounts where their name says, saw Tyler June 30th. And there's a number of these, like people saying, we effing did it. There's a number of these from people saying, Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow. I really hope someone evaporates him literally. Let's just say something big will happen tomorrow. And these all seem to be very young people, they, thems, people who would potentially be in the same kind of Discord servers that Tyler Robinson was interacting with. So there needs to be questions asked of these people. Track down their accounts, figure out what they meant. If they were just memeing, or, as it seems more likely, they already knew something was going to happen. And that's where we come to this as well, which was a report from the New York Post that, according to a neighbor, 2 weeks prior to the assassination, several people driving cars with out-of-state license plates were seen going in and out of Tyler's apartment. And the neighbor said they did not give off a good vibe. So was this just some kind of strange internet meetup with a bunch of transgender furries, which are communities which it seems that Tyler and his boyfriend, girlfriend were associated with? Or was there something else going on? Was this coordination with outside actors, with bad intentions, as some have suggested? Was this coordination with other people who are part of these communities who were in on the plan, and that Tyler is going out of his way to protect through non-cooperation and through his roommate releasing text messages which seem to incriminate only Tyler as the sole person behind this? There are a lot of questions. One thing is to be sure, though, we can't say that this guy was anything like MAGA. We can't say that this guy was not radically left-wing, even if he was being manipulated by outside sources. I think it seems clear that this guy is the killer. It's just a question of how far this goes. And when it comes to some of the larger conspiracies, I don't put too much stock in them, but I will say there has been something weird, and it's something that I saw only just before we came on, so I didn't have time to put it in the segment, which is part of the administration's reaction to the whole event, right? Which is, it's completely normal and understandable and respectful for his friends to like JD Vance, for Matt Walsh and the others to go on the Charlie Kirk show and give speeches in memoriam to him, to his audience, as a kind of way of respectfully closing out the show. Perhaps this is just a difference in sentiment and sensibility between Americans and the English, but I saw on the 21st, so that would be what, Sunday, that there's going to be a big memorial for Charlie Kirk where they all go around giving speeches, and loads of people who knew him, Donald Trump's going to be there, JD Vance is going to be there. And I saw it going around on social media like it was some kind of big PR WrestleMania style event. To me, that's a very, very strange way to mourn a fallen comrade. Maybe it's just a different approach that Americans have versus the English.
Those are the wishes of his wife.
I mean, his wife is making an appearance there. But I don't know. For me, it just feels wrong to treat it like a
I think
PR
that's
event.
quite tasteless.
But Americans in the audience, feel free to disagree with me there. That might just be my sentiment and sensibilities versus that of America, because I know Americans like to go big and go loud with everything. But that's just me. So, you know, leave your theories, leave your ideas down below, and don't let the left shy away from this. This is something they claimed. Not only have they claimed it, this was something else I only saw before that I couldn't add in this. There were memorials put up not only to Charlie Kirk, but to Irina Zarutska, the Ukrainian girl who was stabbed to death by a feral con on a subway. There were memorials painted around America about her. I've already seen those being vandalized. I've seen the same ones for Charlie Kirk being vandalized. The one for Irina was painted over and somebody put up a mural of her killer instead. Don't let people shy away from this. They took this, they claimed it, they need to live with the consequences, which is complete ostracization from society. They must be outcast. There you go.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.